I like beer cause it is good. I drink beer because I should. If there was a song to sing, I sing it and beer you bring. I drink beer when I am sad, cause the beer it makes me glad. Now there's nothing left to say, so let's go drink beer.
Beer is good! Beer is good! Beer is good! And stop! Beer is good! Beer is good! Beer is good!
Let's go drink some beer!
Beer is good. Yes, indeed. Tonight we have another beer in our series of style guides. Last time we talked about pale ale, its fabled history, its ingredients, and how it's made, and what defines its character, and what food goes with it. Well, in this episode, we're going to delve into holiday beers. What with holidays still being upon us, this show is all about holiday ales. Yes, I'm talking about those tasty beers of winter. Coming up in the next segment, I'm going to give you a taste of holiday ales. But first, we need to talk about the different kinds of holiday beers. And you might see, these holiday beers being brewed, and you might see these holiday beers being advertised, and you might see these holiday beers around. But just like pale ale, holiday ales have mixed different styles represented by a spectrum of alcohol content, dryness, bitterness, flavor, and color. The different kinds of holiday ales all have their roots in the history of brewing and the conditions faced by brewers of their age. What differentiates these beers is mostly the amount of fermentables that go into them and the balance of sugars in them to their respective bitterness, and any special ingredients that may be added, like spices, for example. Tonight, I'm going to focus on spiced ales, as they're the most widely available and identifiable types of the genre. Now, this style has evolved from attempts to capitalize on the success of summer fruit beers, but reflects a fuller, spicier, more robust body and strength. When a brewery offered holiday beers and a winter warmer seasonal, typically and usually the holiday beer is almost always the stronger of the two. Modern versions are brewed from a higher original gravity and reflect a higher strength than most other beers. Its appearance and color can be from jet black to amber, with those nice ruby highlights in the color. It can be opaque, but if not, then it should be quite clear. But a thick, lacy, long-lasting, tanned, off-white colored head is characteristic of the style. Holiday ales have a prominent malty, fruity, and oftentimes spicy aroma that may have slight chocolate, cocoa, and or grainy secondary notes. Occasionally, and most oftenly, you will see fruity esters from yeast character, which are medium low to high. Some buttery or diacetyl flavors can be present in small quantities, lending complexity to the aroma and the flavor. The hop aroma typically is low to none, as this beer is more about the malt and or the spice character, and the mild bitterness that follows. When you taste a holiday ale, you'll notice moderately malty, grainy flavors, optionally with light to moderate spiciness and medium to low hop bitterness. There is a full, toffee-like finish from the malt and the grains. Many have a bittersweet or unsweetened chocolate character in the palate, lasting into the finish. Some balancing factors may include a creaminess in the texture or mouthfeel, which should be medium to light to medium full in the body with low to moderate carbonation. You don't want a lot of gas in these beers, as that takes away from the maltiness and the spiciness. There may even be some light astringency from the roasted grains, although harshness is totally undesirable. And there should be medium low to medium fruitiness with medium to no hop flavor, You don't want those hop flavors to conflict with the spicy flavors and the malty flavors. And that's why some low diacetyl character can be detected in these styles. For the low hop bitterness and significant proportion of dark grains present, this beer is remarkably smooth. The perception of body can be affected by the overall gravity, with the smaller beers being lighter in body. All in all, holiday ales are a full-flavored, roasty, spicy, creamy ale. Coming up, I'll show you how I brewed a holiday ale with my friend, Darren Moriarty. You've seen Darren before on Drinking with Darren. And then you too will be able to brew this classic as well.
I'm going to show you how to do something that I know you're burning and itching to try. Yes, that's right. We are going to make a pumpkin beer today. Now, a lot of people will say, you can't put pumpkin in an extract beer. It isn't going to happen. How are you going to get that extract converted into sugars from the starches? You're just going to put starch in your beer. And that's an invitation to disaster. Normally, you would be true. But today, I'm going to show you how that is not true. Because we're going to do some enzyme action onto some wonderful pumpkin pie mix that I got here. Actually, this is just pumpkin mix. We're going to add the spice later at Knockout. What I've got is 2 cans of pumpkin. I've got some specialty grains. I've got 1/3 of a pound of aromatic, 1/3 of a pound of biscuit, 1/3 of a pound of Cara Munich, and then I have these 2 cans of pumpkin. And we're going to add the pumpkin first and get it working with some enzymes. Notice here, I got the amylase enzyme. The whole idea behind the amylase enzyme is it's going to break down the starches of that pumpkin while retaining the pumpkin flavor. So we'll get some sugars out of that as well. You can see, I've got 160-degree water here. I'm going to take my grains in my grain bag, and I'm going to steep these grains. Very handy to have a grain bag. I've only got a gallon of water in here. The idea behind having just a gallon of water is if you put too much water in, you're going to extract a lot of unfortunate things like tannins and silicates from this grain bag. I don't want to extract those things. I only want to extract the good things from it, namely the sugars, the flavors, and the aromas of these grains, and not any of the bad components that are in there. So basically, you're going to put in just a gallon of water to get started. And then once we got everything else out of there, then we're going to be adding some more water to it to get to our volume, add our extract, boil that. Once the break's underway, then we can add our hops and get the hop bitterness in there. This is not going to be a very bitter beer. Pumpkin beers should not have any more bitterness than they absolutely need to balance out the residual sugars. I'm going to put the lid on this, let it steep for a while, and after it's been steeping for about 20-30 minutes, we're going to go ahead and add the pumpkin and start getting the pumpkin doing its thing. Only takes about 15-20 minutes there to convert those sugars, those starches into sugars, so that way we can start talking about making a real pumpkin beer. So if you'll hang on in just a minute through the magic of television, you'll see the next step. Back. We've had our grains steeping in the bag now for about 20 minutes, and that nice steeping time has allowed the wort to be collected. And if you look inside here, you can see how I've now got this kind of amerish brownish liquid going on, and what that's going to do is contribute aroma, flavor, and character to the finished beer. But I need to strain out all the wonderful goodness that's in here because I didn't get it all out. So I got my little colander, and I've got some hot water. And all I'm going to do is pour this hot water over the grains to rinse all that wonderful goodness out of there and bring up my volume. I'm going to add my pumpkin now, and as soon as I've got the pumpkin in and got it dissolved and I got the enzymes working on it, then I'm going to add the water to get it to my volume so I can boil my extract and get it started so I can add those wonderful hops to give it a nice hoppy flavor and aroma and bitterness to balance out all these sugars I'm going to be making. So we have the lid open, and look at that beautiful color. Yummy pumpkin flavor. And basically you just dump it in there and stir it up, because this will dissolve quite easily in this hot liquid. My temperature is about 160 degrees. It emulsifies those starches, gets them ready, solubilizes them, so that way those starches can go in there and do their thing and turn themselves into some sugars, so I can not only get pumpkin flavor, but I can also get some pumpkin sweetness. And okay, I've got the pumpkin in now. The next thing I'm going to be doing is focusing on making sure it's all mixed up. I want to make sure that everything is all blended together. So if you notice, I'm stirring in kind of a figure 8 pattern. And the reason I stir in that figure 8 pattern is to make sure everything gets evenly mixed. Because I don't want to get any chunks of pumpkin in the bottom there that might scorch or burn when I turn the heat on. And if you look, you can see it's got a beautiful color to it now. It's already starting to get that kind of pumpkin color to it. Same thing found in pale ale malts, two-row malts, pilsner malts, any kind of pale malt all over the world is using this enzyme. And this enzyme is actually a blend of amylase and both alpha and beta. So that way I'm going to get both flavor and character. And you only need to put 1 teaspoon of this stuff in for 5 gallons. And what this is going to do, these enzymes are going to turn all those starches into sugar. Okay, I'm back. I'm ready to add my extract. I've got 3 pounds of Mutton's Dry Extra Light Extract. I got another 3-pound bag over here. And I'm going to put that in there because I've got already the pumpkin, the enzymes, and the grains. So now it's time to add the extract. And as you can see, it goes in just about as fast as it comes out. Now it might ball up a little bit because sometimes it'll do that because it's sugar. But because it's sugar, it's going to melt. The second bag I'm going to be adding. The second bag will bring me up to my gravity level. This is not going to be a terribly strong beer. I mean, we're talking about maybe 6% alcohol by volume. The whole idea behind this is it's a standard pale ale pretty much, except it's going to be a little bit darker, almost like an amber ale. And it's going to be a little bit maltier, kind of like an amber ale is, a little bit maltier than a pale ale. But the whole idea here is that we're going to put in our extract after we put in those grains, after we put in the pumpkin and the enzymes, and we're making a pumpkin ale. So this is going to taste like pumpkin, smell like pumpkin. And then at the very end of the boil, I'm going to add a special ingredient, pumpkin pie spice. Yes, pumpkin pie spice, a whole tablespoon. That's all you need. If you put in too much, it'll just taste like pumpkin pie spice. If you put in too little, it'll taste more like pumpkin, but less like pumpkin pie. But I like to have a nice combination of the two. That's why I'm stirring like all get out to get these little tiny blobs of sugar to finish, dissolving, so that I get this nice, beautiful mixture of extract and water and grains to all blend together to produce this wonderful, see, all the sugar is melted, all that malt extract has gone in there. I'm up to my volume. I got 5 gallons of beautiful wort right here. Oh, it smells like pumpkin, it smells like malt, it smells like it's gonna make good beer. What's gonna happen next is I'm gonna have to bring this up to a boil, let it boil for about 10 minutes, add my hops. And once I've added the hops, I'm going to boil for an extra hour to get all the bitterness out of those hops and into my wort. And then I'm going to chill that wort on down to yeast temperature because boiling is way too hot for yeast. Yeast are like people. I like it to be like room temperature. Ale yeast, they just don't work if it's too warm, and they just don't work well if it's too cold. If it's too cold, they drop out. If it's too warm, they die. And as you can see, I've started to get my boil, and I got my spray bottle handy in case a boil over starts. Nobody wants a boil over. Those foam overs, when they happen, are nasty, they're mean, they're miserable, they're hard to clean up. Best way to stop them is to prevent them in the first place. I always have a bottle of water handy, spray it down, and that keeps it from foaming over. Now, we're not getting to a hard boil here, that's going to be a problem, so I think that's okay. I did, however, take my screen and went through and sieved all the foam out beforehand because I want to make sure to get rid of that stuff. That's just excess protein that's going to be foam negative and flavor negative. I only want the positive proteins in there, the low to medium density proteins. They're the good proteins for building head and for building structure in my beer. So now that I got a good boil started here, it's time to add the hops. And if you see the hops right here, I have these beautiful Fuggles hops, 1 ounce. That's all we need. Because an ounce of hops is all you need in a pumpkin beer because you want that pumpkin flavor to come through. You want that pumpkin aroma to come through. The hops are there as a balancing act to balance the residual extract of the malt so that the hops and the malt are playing second fiddle to the pumpkin. because the pumpkin is the centerpiece. That's why it's a pumpkin ale, not an amber pumpkin ale, not a pale pumpkin ale, but a pumpkin ale. Pumpkin should come first, last, and always. And at the very end, I'll show you how we're going to up that pumpkin another notch. Like a certain chef says, bam, kick it up a notch. That's what we're going to do. So stay tuned and you'll see what I've got planned. See you in a bit. I'm back. And it's been an hour now. The boil is done. The hops have been isomerized. Now we're ready for the next part, cooling the wort. As you can see over here, I've got my immersion wort chiller in the wort. The wort is still steaming, but I'm going to run cold water through that immersion coil. And as the cold water goes down and rises up from the top, you can pull all that heat out. In about 15 to 20 minutes, I'm going to have that wort chilled to its proper yeast pitching temperature. And I can open this valve, and nice, brilliantly clear wort is going to come down my sanitized hose into my sanitized brewing bucket so I can get started brewing right. And speaking of sanitization, it's time to sanitize my yeast package. Some people think this is a bit anal, but I like to sanitize everything. The foam will sanitize it just as well as the actual Star San itself. I like Star San. A lot of people, they go on the dark side of sanitization, but I say no to iodophor. I want something that I can sanitize right away and use it without having to rinse it and dry it. Iodophor is also a no-rinse sanitizer, but unfortunately, it's gotta be drip dry. This stuff can be sopping wet, and it still works. That's why I like Star San. So the next thing you're gonna see is me opening up this yeast package and rehydrating the yeast. Okay, I'm now gonna sprinkle the yeast into the water that I have boiled and cooled. So I've got absolutely sanitary water to put my yeast into. I'm taking my sanitized whisk, and I'm going to give that a nice little gentle stir. And what this is going to do is rehydrate my yeast gently and readily, so that way the yeast will be ready to do their job, and they're not going to get all blown out of proportion by all that sugar. And instead, they'll be gently opened up, just like parachutes opening up on a nice spring day. I'm going to cover that up to make sure it doesn't get anything falling into it. And as soon as this is finished rehydrating, this will be done chilling, and then I'll have my wort ready to go and ready to pitch that yeast, and the beer is done. Well, my part's done. My partners, the yeast, they're going to do their part. And their part is to turn that wonderful sugar solution that I have made into alcohol and carbon dioxide. And that product we all know and love is beer. So be right back. I'll be right with you. Hold on, and you'll be able to see this beer being pitched with yeast to make it into the product that we all love to drink. So hang around, I'll be right back. Okay, the wort has chilled down. It's at 65 degrees, a temperature I usually like to pitch at. Most beer ferments at 68 to 72 degrees. I find that if I pitch it at 64 to 65 degrees, the temperature of fermentation will warm up to 68 degrees, so it won't produce any off flavors or aromas. It'll make just the right beer, just the right way I like to make it. You can make yours any way you want, but I highly recommend you try 65 degrees and see what you think. And now I'm ready to crack the valve on this baby and let that wort come roaring out. Will you look at that? Isn't that beautiful? Beautiful wort. Ready to make some beautiful beer. Now, I've got the yeast over here, and it's been rehydrating. It's looking real happy. And I'm going to take this, I'm going to pour it right into my just like that. So now I've got 2 out of 3 things ready. I got the yeast in there, I've got the wort in there. Now it's time to add one more thing. Yeast need oxygen the first few hours of respiration, so they can use that oxygen to build healthy yeast cells so that they can make healthy yeast bodies so they can make healthy beer. Because cleaner beer is better beer. Cleaner beer is what it's all about. Now I'm going to get my oxygen bottle. I got my sanitized oxygen hose. I'm going to crack this just a little bit to blow out the sanitizer. Oh, look at that. And I'm going to stick that in there. And I'm going to oxygenate my wort. The idea behind oxygenating the wort is to help the yeast get a head start. Yeah, I got the yeast rehydrated. Yeah, I got the wort pitched to the right temperature. Now what I have to do is give them a little bit of oxygen to give them that head start so they can make the best beer I could possibly make. You don't really have to do it with pure oxygen. You can pour back and forth from bucket to bucket, or you can take a aquarium pump and put through a sterile stone that you've sanitized like I've sanitized, or you can do pure oxygen like I'm doing. Pure oxygen is the best way to go. That way I'm guaranteed of putting in the maximum amount of soluble oxygen into my wort. As you can see, it's just bubbling away. It's making all kinds of foam. Look at that foam. Look at that beer. That is happy wort. That's going to make awesome beer. I can't wait until this beer's done. Okay, well, I'm going to shut off my oxygen because I don't want to waste my oxygen. The wort is chilled, the wort has been oxygenated, and the wort is now sitting in the fermenter. And if you look at that fermenter, look at that beautiful foam. That beautiful foam means there's going to be lots of protein in there for making great head. Plus the oxygen in there is helping that yeast to reproduce so those yeast can do what we want to do, make good beer. So now I'm going to take this oxygenator out. It's done its job, and now it's time for me to lock things down tight. And what I've got here is my sanitized lid. Yes, I sanitize everything. If it touches my beer and it's cold, it's sanitized. And now I'm putting my sanitized airlock on, my sanitized lid, in my sanitized bucket filled with my sanitized beer that has a specific yeast culture that I have selected just for this beer. So this beer has only one thing active in it biologically, and that is the mutton's yeast that I put in there. And that's because I only want one microbiological item in there, and that is beer yeast. I don't want bacteria. I don't want wild yeast. I don't want mold. I don't want fungi. Although I am a fun guy, I am not a mushroom. I only want things in my beer that are going to make it taste the best it could taste, and that means a cultured yeast. And that yeast culture is going to grow, multiply, and divide, and produce more yeast, which are going to eat up all those sugars and make alcohol and carbon dioxide, and the product that we know and love, beer. Well, guys, here I am, BeerTV, Brewing with Style. I'm brewing with my friend Darren Moriarty today from Drinking with Darren, and we're going to brew an extreme beer. What kind of extreme beer are we going to brew today, Darren? Extreme pumpkin beer. Yes, pumpkin beer, that's right. But not just an ordinary pumpkin beer, an imperial pumpkin ale. And not just an ordinary imperial pumpkin ale, we're going to go even one notch higher. We're going to kick it up a whole notch with pumpkin, mini pumpkin, honey. That's right, mini pumpkin honey. That's going to make this beer extreme. Because we are extreme brewers.
Why do you call it mini pumpkin honey, Michael?
That's a good question. I asked Marlene, this is Marlene's honey, and she told me, in no uncertain terms, that it's the decorative pumpkins that you find at the store. The idea behind it is they can't get regular pumpkin honey because the bees won't pollinate. So they get the decorative pumpkins instead, and they call it mini pumpkin honey. But it's got a really nice flavor. It's got a pumpkin flavor. It's got a pumpkin aroma. And I'm thinking put that in the secondary so you can get some of that background flavor and aroma in there.
Nice, okay.
So let's mix up the grist.
Alright.
I got my handy stirring pump here. It's going the right direction. Got my strike water set. And all I need is Darren to start pouring. Okay, it's all blended up. Now what I got to do is get that pumpkin. And I put that pumpkin in there. I got 10 pounds of pumpkin going into this beer. Darren's got 5 pounds of pumpkin going into his beer. 10 for 10 gallons, 5 for 5 gallons. Easy as pie.
Makes sense to me.
No pun intended with the pie.
Yeah.
But we're also going to put pumpkin pie spice in, not until the finish. We're not going to mash it, we're not going to boil it. We're just going to throw it in the kettle at the very last minute before we start to do the knockout. So we'll get to that later. Right now, we're going to take a little break. When we come back, we're going to put some pumpkin in here and start mashing some pumpkin beer. We're we're back. I got the pumpkin here. This is just Libby's canned pumpkin. I'm using it because it's easy and it's simple. But you can use fresh pumpkins if you want. Get more of an intense pumpkin flavor. The main thing is to use another pumpkin. You gotta use anywhere from 1 to as much as 2 pounds of pumpkin for every gallon of beer that you're gonna make. And as you see, all I'm doing is scooping the pumpkin out and dropping it in my kettle. Right now, with Darren's help, we're gonna put in the rice hulls.
The rice holes.
Because I got a lot of adjuncts in there. I got 10 pounds of pumpkin. That's a lot of adjuncts. I want to make sure I don't get a stuck water. So here we go.
How much? The whole bag, Mike?
Whole bag. Throw it in here. And then we're gonna help Darren with his beer. He's making a 5-gallon batch of the same beer. The only difference is he's using half the amount of the ingredients. Instead of 24 pounds of grain, he's got 12 pounds of grain. Instead of 10 pounds of pumpkin, he's got 5 pounds of pumpkin. The whole idea is it's the same darn thing, just half as much. You're gonna make twice as much beer, twice as much ingredients. You're gonna make half as much beer, half as much ingredients. Doesn't get any simpler than that. Be back in a moment.
Mashing for approximately an hour around the ranges of 152 to 155 degrees. And it basically created the enzyme conversion that converted all those starches to sugar. That includes the malted barley and the pumpkin we added in the mash. So right now is the next step in creating the beer. And what I'm doing is I'm running off the liquid in the mash into this little container here. And what I'm doing is clarifying the wort. I'm taking all the extra particles out of it, and it's just creating a filter bed. Well, I've created a filter bed. I'm creating the filter bed right now. And okay, this is silly. But anyway, I'm running the wort through the grain bed and into this little container, and I'm going to recirculate it by pouring it back onto the top, spritzing it around. That way, I can get a nice clean looking beer. And what the rule of thumb is, a nice clean beer is a good beer. And this is a step at the smallest level of all grain brewing. Now if you want to go to some of the larger craft breweries, you will see this step is one of the very important steps in brewing for those people, because they have to make a consistent product that looks the same color all the time. And they have their magic, but this is the magic I do at home. I do it approximately 10 times. Usually gives me a nice good color for the beer. Basically brings out all that cloudy haze to where I can see this hose and it looks just like as clear as it needs to be. Almost looks like, should look like as clear as water through this hose almost. That's what I'm trying to accomplish.
Alrighty, we're back after that refreshing break, and right now we're sparging. We've vorolized, we recirculated our wort so they got nice and clear. And well, wouldn't you know it, our runoff is slowed down. Both Darren and I are having some slow runoffs, even though we took the precaution of using rice hulls, which just goes to show you that you can't always get everything that you want. But this beer is not going to be stopped. It's still trying to be successful. It's still trying to be a good beer. I've got it running off in my kettle right now. I got my kettle heating up, getting ready to boil. And as soon as it comes to a boil and I've got my volume collected, I'm going to add my first load of hops. What hops am I using? Summit hops, 18.4% alpha. I'm going to put those hops in here and get those nice, fruity flavors, those earthy flavors, and especially that little bit of citrus that's in there. And then we're going to start adding some character hops. I'm talking Centennial, I'm talking Amarillo, and finish up with some wonderful aroma hops like Goldie's hops, Yakima Goldie's, Willamette hops. Great stuff. Stay tuned next, you'll see us putting our hops in. Here I am, with the stuck runoff from hell. Even with my pump, I'm just barely keeping for 10 gallons in the boil. So what am I doing? I'm keeping it static. I'm doing a 10-gallon boil with 10 gallons of fluid. I'm evaporating off as much as I'm putting in, so I'm keeping it right at 10 gallons. So I'm boiling my hops, I'm getting my utilization, I'm getting my bittering, and that's what I'm going to do now. Dumping in these beautiful Centennial hops.
Oh, gotta love that aroma. Gonna boil those suckers for 10 minutes. So I need to set my timer. I'm good to go. For 10 more minutes, I'll be doing my next hop addition. Stand by, I'll be right okay. It's time to add those wonderful Amarillo hops. In you go, babies. Wish you had smell of vision so you could smell these hops. They smell incredible. Mostly I'm putting these in for flavor. That's why they're only going to boil for about another 20 minutes. Then I'm putting in my aroma hops. Willamette and Goldings. I'm still at my 10-gallon volume. I'm still pulling the wort out. I'm still boiling it off. But I'm getting my hops done. Hopefully here real soon I'll have a cold wort cast and my yeast pitch and make myself a damn imperial pumpkin ale. How's that for something, huh? Alright, that was my last addition of hops. I'm putting in Yakima Goldings. These are going to be my finishing hops. They're going to give me that nice, wonderful Goldings aroma. Got my timer set. Got my Whirlflock tablets. One, two. That's all you need. One for every 5 gallons. Put a little bit of white yeast nutrient just in case. There we go. Now, another 10 minutes, chill this baby down, pitch my yeast, beer will be made. Then the yeast do their job, because I've done my job. Thank you all. This is it, the end of the night. I got the counterflow chiller going, as you can see. Cold water's going in, cold wart's coming out. Hot wort coming out of the kettles, going from boiling to pitching temperature. That's what I'm talking about. That's why I got a counterflow chiller. I highly recommend it for people who want to get their beer cool as quickly as possible and still get that yeast pitch and not be wasting any time. Until later, see you on BeerTV, Brewing with Style. Okay, I'm back. And after seeing that holiday ale being brewed, I want to show you how to appreciate the appearance, the aroma, the flavor, the mouthfeel, and the total character of holiday ales and those wonderful winter warmers. In another cutaway, you'll see me with my friend Dean Pottle from Dean Scene, tasting some holiday ales and winter warmers. Typical examples of the style are Anchor, our special ale, Bridgeport's Ebenezer, Goose Island's Christmas Ale, North Coast Wintertime Ale, Samuel Adams Winter Lager, Rogue's Mad Elf, and Deschutes Jubile Ale. Generally, these are ales, although some dark, strong lagers do exist. My favorite is Boston Brewing doing their Triple Bock. Nice. Spices are usually required and often include those that evoke the Christmas season, like allspice, nutmeg, cinnamon, cloves, and ginger. The ingredients you'd find in pumpkin pie spice mostly, but any combination is possible and creativity is totally encouraged. Fruit peel or orange and lemon zest may be used, as may subtle additions of other fruits. Many use a wide range of crystal-type malts, particularly those that add dark fruit or caramel flavors. Flavorful adjuncts are often used like molasses, treacle, invert sugar, brown sugar, honey, or maple syrup, as this allows for a lot of interpretation by the brewers. That's why I've got my favorite here, Westmoreland Double. I also like the Rochefort 8, which is a very, very well-made beer. Very tasty. If you have your choice between those two beers, I say get them both. Go for the gusto. Hey, you only live once, right? Unless you're James Bond and you live twice. That's besides the point. Let's open this. Oh, nice report. I love these bottle-conditioned Belgian ales. They always open up nicely. They always use a proper crown cap, and they always pour up nicely. Hopefully this one won't be shooting all over the place. And it pours up this beautiful, deep, ruby mahogany red brown. Oh yeah, baby, that's what I'm talking about. Never-ending cascade of bubbles supports this beautiful off-white tannish head. This is a great beer. I love this beer. I could drink this beer all day long, provided I'm not going to go anywhere, or at least be driving. This is not a driver's beer. Oh, I love the smell. The aroma of stewed fruits. I mean, there's raisins in there. There's plums in there. If you've ever had plum pudding, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. This is a very nice beer, just to sit there and smell. I've had other beers in the past, but I just like to sit there and just suck up all those aromas. Yum. But now I gotta get on to the tasting, because unfortunately, I do have a limited time frame here. That's the thing to do with what BeerTV sets out for me. I just decided I'm gonna keep my little Johnson sautés here down to 15 minutes or less. The whole idea being is that I don't want to spend too much of your time, and I don't want you to have to waste too much time getting down to the subject. But here we go. Just like the triple, it's light, but it has this nice dark malt character. A little bit of roastiness at the end. It has almost kind of a roast barley character, not too dissimilar from, say, the Scottish ales or the Irish red ales. Along with the color, this would quite go well nicely with that roast barley finish. All I can tell you is this is heaven in a glass. I would probably like to have a Rochefort 8 for comparison, but unfortunately my favorite place to shop for bottles, Belmont Station, was out. I guess they must have had a rush on those Rochefort 8s. Rochefort simply bottles their beers as either 6, 8, 10, or 12. That refers to Belgian legal degrees, which is the same thing as the British gravity measurement unit, just rounded to the nearest number. So that means 12 Belgian degrees would be a beer of 1120 gravity. Very strong beer. 12 to 14% in most cases. But this beer is only 8%. Still a very tasty beer at 8%. I could drink this beer all day long. Cheers. After that wonderful rest and relieving myself, I've got something even better. Scaldus. Now, if you go over to Belgium and try this beer, you won't find Scaldus. In Belgium, they call this beer bush beer. It's not like the bush beer you see on NASCAR. Oh no. The bush beer that you see on NASCAR is American light lager. An okay beer, but nowhere near this beer. At 12% alcohol by volume, this is more of a Belgian strong dark ale. But it's considered a double. So we'll see how it measures up against the smaller double. Ah, nice report. Also bottle conditioned, as are all good Belgian ales. Now, interestingly enough, this beer does not look that dark. If anything, it looks like a light golden strong ale. I was misinformed. I've only had this beer once before, and it was darker. But that was a long time ago when it was called Bush. I have strong suspicions that they've changed the recipe, and that's okay. They've changed the recipe before. I mean, take a look at Duvel. Duvel used to be an amber brown beer, and now it's this real light golden strong ale. Kind of like this beer. Maybe I should have had Duvel instead. But Duvel is only 8%. Scaldless is 12%. I think I'd rather go for the 12% than the 8% beer. That's just me. I'm an extreme brewer. I'm an extreme beer drinker. That's why I go for extreme beers. And Belgian beers are about as extreme as you can get. Oh, good Lord. It may not be that dark, but this beer has dark fruit flavors. The last beer had dark fruit flavors. It had kind of a molasses treacle, if you've ever had British treacle. Not the dark treacle that you find in like porters and stouts, but the light treacle that you find like on your waffles and your pancakes. Except they have a different name for that over in England. I just can't remember it offhand at the moment. But the point being made here is that I can smell that light treacle molasses kind of aroma in this beer, which is unusual for a beer of this color. Also has kind of a nuttiness there at the end, like roasted pecan. Oh, you taste it. You can taste more of that treacle. It has almost kind of a molasses-like finish at the end. And while it doesn't have the stewed fruit character, the figs, the plum, that sort of thing, it does have a very nice, flavor and aroma. This is a very well-made beer. I've always liked Scaldless. My favorite is Scaldless Noel, and that's coming up next. Cheers. I'm back, and I got an even better beer. Remember I told you Scaldless was a great beer at 12% alcohol? Well, they make another great beer, Scaldless Noel. This is their Christmas beer. Also a winter warmer, also 12%. It's going to be a little bit darker, a little bit fruitier, and a little bit heartier than the last beer. Ah, nice report. There's bottle commissioned beer from Belgium. And it pours up a little bit darker. Not a whole lot darker, but just dark enough to let me know that this is not the same beer. It's kind of on the amber, dark amber side. It's got a never-ending cascade of rising bubbles going in to support that really nice off-white tannish head. And I can't wait to inhale the aromatics this beer is giving off. Just like the last beer, this one has some nice fruity aromatics, but this time the fruity aromatics are leaning more towards honey, and this is going to, because of the strain, brown sugar. Brown sugar has that kind of molasses flavor, rummy, kind of like rum notes. More so than molasses being a little darker and richer than brown sugar, even though brown sugar is basically molasses and turbinado sugar mixed together. But it's got a wonderful aroma, and I'm going to taste this bad boy at 12% and see how it tastes up. Ooh boy, that's a full-bodied, full-flavored beer. It doesn't have the deep cooked fruit flavors of the Westmalle Double, but it's just as light, it's just as airy, it's just as full-bodied and full-flavored. And that's what's scary about these beers. They're so light and effervescent, it's like, eating a French pastry. You don't realize that it's 2,000 calories after you've eaten it. I mean, this beer will definitely leave you bloated and feeling like, a beached whale. But what can I say? I love these beers. I love making them. I love drinking them. And more importantly, I appreciate the qualities that make these beers what they are. These are great beers for the ages. And Scaldless Noel says, basically, Noel better than no other beer. I love these beers. Winter warmers. They're great. They're fantastic. It helps ward off all that cold weather. I'm starting to feel pretty warm now. Originally I was feeling a little bit chilly because it was kind of cool in the house, around 65 degrees. It's now 68.2 degrees according to my thermostat. But even at 68.2 degrees, it's feeling nice and toasty warm. I think part of it has to do with this beer. I've had this beer on tap at the Holiday Ale Festival. All I have to say is, whether it's on bottle or it's on tap, it's still a great beer. I prefer to have my beers on tap. A lot of people have asked me, they go, well, what's the difference? I mean, you know, you're having a bottled beer, you're having a tap beer. You know, the beer on bottle should be better because they're aged on the yeast, whereas when they're in kegs, they're off the yeast, and there's no aging character involved. But there's something about draft beer that's always appealed to me. I've always preferred draft beer to bottled beer. The only reason I drink bottled beer is it's a convenient way of transport. I mean, let's face it, kegs aren't easily transportable. Kegs have a large volume. Bottles are small and convenient, and they're most affordable. I mean, rather than paying $190 to $250 for a keg, I spend $5-6 for a bottle. A lot cheaper. But again, it's taste evolving, taste evolution. That's where bottled conditioned beers come into their form. But again, you can't argue with fresh brewed beer that comes right out of the keg. Or cask conditioned ales. I don't think these beers are cask conditioned, but I do know that keg beers are awesome beers. Holiday Ale Festival, you go to my website, brewingman.com/videos, or if you go to brewingman.blip.tv, you can see the Holiday Ale Festival. And you'll know what I think of the beers that I drank. And there's some pretty darn big beers there, all of which were wonderful beers. Great beers for the winter season. It wasn't that cold that day. It didn't matter. I was feeling pretty warm. Cheers. Until next time, remember, sit tight and remember, I am bringing beers next time. They're going to be really interesting. I'm talking Imperial IPAs and Imperial Pale Ales. That's right, we're getting into the hoppier side of things. I'm getting ready for stouts. That's right, dry Irish stout. Before I do that, I want to finish my winter warmers up with the hoppier side of life. Until then, cheers. Wow, now that was amazing. 3 different beers with completely different character, all considered holiday or winter seasonal ales by their respective breweries. All you can say about them is that they are stronger, darker, spicier beers that often have a rich body and a warming finish, suggesting a good accompaniment for the cold winter season. What's really good about holiday and winter ales is all the different foods that go well with them. Dark chocolate is a personal favorite of mine, as is a nice slice of cheese, like Stilton, or smoked Havarti, or even a creamy French brie. Sometimes even something nice and stinky like Limburger. The bittersweet character of the chocolate and the nice creamy flavors of the cheese go well with the toffee and chocolate flavors of these beers, along with that nice creamy mouthfeel. Coming up in the next segment, I'm going to be pairing up some food with the holiday ales. Food like spiral cut honey roasted ham, which is one of my perennial favorites, with holiday ales, or even smoked turkey. Smoked salmon is also another favorite, seeing as how salmon is the representative dish here in the Pacific Northwest. I mean, after all, we are Oregonians. Now, speaking of Pacific Northwest cuisine, Dungeness crab would also go quite well with winter warmers. I've had Dungeness crab before. Smoked Dungeness crab was awesome. And it balances the hearty flavor of that crab with the flavors of the spices. And talking about hearty foods, I like a hearty meat and meal such as gravy, such as roast beef and brown ale sauce. And that goes mighty fine with a nice, malty, spicy winter warmer. The main thing to remember is that you can either complement the beer with the food, or you can contrast the food with the beer by pairing unlikely matches, such as pale ale with smoked fish, or a stout with fruit desserts. I'm thinking Black Forest cake or cherries. Select foods from the same region where the beer is brewed. Most often, they complement each other pretty well, like cedar plank salmon and holiday ale. Next, we're off to pair up some awesome food with those tasty and much welcomed winter warmers and show you how and where you can spend your holiday season this month. When we come back in just a minute, I'm going to show you what you need to know about beer and food.
Hey, here I am, the Zymergist at home. And what am I doing? I'm having a winter festival. That's right, a winter ale food festival. What am I pairing with my dinner tonight? I've got this beautiful ham. That's right, a nice honey glazed ham. That's gonna go really well with a holiday ale. And to go with that, I've also got these yummy yams I baked in the oven until the ends just ooze with all that wonderful caramelized sugar at the ends. And what wouldn't be a holiday feast without some green bean bake? Love green bean bake. Excellent stuff. And then I got mashed potatoes and ham gravy to go with it. But you know what? I forgot the beer. What was I thinking? I'll be right back with a holiday ale I'm sure you'll approve of. Okay, I'm back, and this time I've got the proper beverage of choice, beer. Cheers. Oh, that hits the spot. And what I've got here is my old ale that I've bowled with some wonderful pumpkin pie spices. It has a kind of a spicy finish to it, but it's still an old ale through and through. Tastes a little like Gale's Price Old Ale, except it's not quite as syrupy or as heavy. And that'll go really nice with this hearty ham dish that I have, and the wonderful yams, and the potatoes and gravy, and the green bean bake. All I can say is either compare or contrast. Either complement your food dishes with your beer, or contrast it. And I chose to complement it this time. If I was going to contrast it, I think I would pick something that was a little bit hoppier, maybe an IPA, or perhaps even a nice, porter, or even a stout. That would go really well with this ham dinner. Well, it's time for good eats. So until next time, I'll catch you later. After this food and beer pairing session is over, we'll take you back to the studio. Cheers.
Well, that was most enjoyable. Pairing beer with food is just as much fun as cooking with beer. The flavor profile of the beer boils down to a balance of sweetness and dryness, a factor of malt character and any residual sugars, balanced by the bitterness of the hops, or in this case, the spices as well. Beer can contribute richness, even sweetness and body to sauces. But beware of the hops. They will change in nature in the cooking process, particularly when reducing sauces, and they can take on a bitter character that begins dominating the flavor profile and may become too cloying. You have to be sparing when cooking with beer. When hoppy beers are reduced, they become much more bitter and they could ruin the finish of your food. That's why I use holiday ales as marinades or maybe a glaze when I cook up a hearty dish. Winter beers are excellent with any good hearty soup or stew or a meat dish with brown gravy. Hey, try this. Try making pancakes or waffles with holiday ales. Just replace some or all of the water with beer. Well, I hope you found this show a useful medium for your brewing, tasting, and food-related needs. On the next show, that's coming up soon, I'm gonna showcase the beers of spring, when your head turns towards the stout side of things. That's right, I'll be brewing up a dry Irish stout for the St. Patrick's holiday, and we'll show you how it's brewed, what it tastes like, and how you can enjoy it with your favorite foods next time on BeerTV, Brewing with Style.
I think you had it done.